Hello, and welcome to another episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. My name is Trace, and I am one of the three people today that's going to be telling you things that are science-y mostly, but sometimes funny. And I'm here with Julian Huguet. Hi, Julian.
Hello, it's good to be back again. And we have a special guest with us today. Joining us from the San Diego Zoo, he's the host of the Amazing Wildlife podcast, Marco Wendt is our guest. Welcome. It's so good to have you, Marco.
Buenos dias, gentlemen. Happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. This is going to be great. I'm very excited for specifically the question that you're answering, but we'll come back to that in a second because first, I want to tell you, everyone who's listening, if this is your first time listening to the show, essentially, we get questions from you, the listeners, or from our guests in this case, and we answer those questions with as much science research as we can find on the internet. Julian and I have been science communicators for a long time. Marco has worked for the San Diego Zoo for a long time as well, so we all have a lot of knowledge that we can bring. If this is, again, your first time listening, thanks for joining us. You can find all sorts of ways to submit questions in the show notes of this episode. Join our Patreon if you want to support the show. It's really the only way that we keep this show going is thanks to our patrons. So thank you to them. But first, Julian, what question did you answer?
Well, I am super excited. As you know, when we have a guest, usually we take a question from them as like our way of saying thanks. And Marco asked a question that I really liked, which is, what if humans laid eggs?
Wait a minute.
What?
That's the question I answered. I thought I was answering Marco's
question.
No,
I answered. That's
no,
right.
I did it.
No, I told you that I really liked it and I wanted to do it.
Oh, no. Did we do it again?
Did we do it again? We did this again.
Did we do it again?
This is the second time the science communicators have not communicated with each other.
Well, awesome. Cool.
Crushing it.
It was a solid question, guys. It was
It
solid.
is good.
You know what? It's very
There's
solid.
a lot of food for thought. Not like we'd be eating our own eggs. I regret phrasing it that way.
I mean, that's another episode, gentlemen.
We did
talk about cannibalism recently.
Yes. With our friend Simone.
Anyway.
I mean,
wow.
There are wildlife examples, you know. I got to say.
Yes, we brought up polar bears in that example because I think it's just a lot. Fine. Julian, do you think we can do a double us answering this question? We kind of tag team back and forth like we did before?
That one time that what was it, a chicken-related question? It was slapping a chicken, wasn't it?
What was it always bird-related that we missed?
I was just going to say, well, you know, it gets people motivated, you know. This is why I'm excited today, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, go ahead, Julian, and then you just got to give me room to jump in.
First, I think we should give Marco the floor because it's his question, and as we always ask people who submit questions, Marco, what were you thinking?
What was I thinking? Well, you know, two main points. One, you know, working for San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, I talk about all sorts of wildlife, and I always feel some kind of way because my background is with all sorts of animals, being a zookeeper and animal trainer with mammals and insects, you know, but primarily birds, and I often don't see people as excited. I mean, if I say giant panda, someone's going to light up super readily and excitedly, which is a very appropriate response. But sometimes with birds, it's a little disconnect, right? So one is that I want to give birds a little more of a platform. And then secondly, seeing the evolution of wildlife that I see, the things that animals have done to really adapt in certain environments. And we as mammals decided to go with live birth, you know, carry it around in our bellies for however months it is, whether it be a rhino at 14 months or a human at 9 months-ish months versus maybe a bird as opposed to laying the egg, moving away and doing other things. So I'm kind of curious, like, what would that mean for a human being, you know, if they were to do that?
This is great. I think you're tackling one of the avenues of approaching this question, which is, you know, what does that mean for us today? What I was really interested in was, what does that mean for our history as a species?
You know what? This is great because I focused on today and you focused on history. So why don't you? That's the best.
Wow. I was like, I bet you anything Trace has the modern day figured out.
I got a little bit of like evolution, but I feel like you probably also covered. Anyway, I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
So since I'm the historical approach, I'll give some background and Trace can take it away after that.
Awesome.
So what I was interested in was looking at how that might change our lineage, our history, right? The way that we kind of sort animals and figure out where things branch off from is we look at the traits that they share with common ancestors. And when some new trait pops up and all the ancestors share that trait, that's where a branch forms in the tree of life, right? These are called synapomorphies. And you would think giving birth to live young is a pretty substantial synapomorphy, right? How far back in our tree of life would you have to go to get to that point? And then would we be falling under this, older branch instead? So I thought, well, would this make us like reptiles? Would we have to go that far back? Right. And I was looking into it, and it turns out, no, that would not make us reptiles. So we are viviparous, but we descended from egg-laying or oviparous animals. And this originally, egg-laying on Anne, that itself was a huge development for life. Because up until about 340 million years ago, if an animal laid an egg, it had to do it in the water. Otherwise, it just dried out too quickly, right? It desiccated. Yep. Your offspring don't make it. If you want to, pass on your genetic traits, it's important for the youngins to make it to maturity as well. So 340 million years ago is when the amniotes evolved. And they're named for a membrane in their eggs called the amnion. And that retained moisture. And we still have this membrane when we're developing as well. We're still amniotes. Once you're in a clade, you can't evolve out of it. That's just a rule that we say all the time.
One-way door.
Yeah, that's it. Congrats. This is why Trace will tell you I have a particular pet peeve that is bird related. And that is when people don't think birds are reptiles.
Oh.
Because they descended from reptiles and therefore are still reptiles, right?
Right.
This is a thing that I bring up a lot. I had one
He's got a soapbox.
Classroom of people disagree with me once, and I'm still mad about it.
If you can move a little to the side, and can I be on that soapbox? Because I'm right there with you.
No. You're a bird guy. Yeah.
I'm with it.
And that's another thing, you want to talk about people being interested in birds. I feel like that's a good conversation starter. Like, check out these reptiles, and it squawks. You're like, what?
Oh, I know.
It's not, but it is. Okay, so we're amniotes. All mammals are amniotes, but we're from one of the major branches that developed early on called the synapsids. The other branches are the anapsids and the diapsids. And the diapsids include reptiles, which include birds. Those names are related, by the way, to the holes in our skulls, basically. Synapsids had one on each side, diapsids 2, anapsids none. Synapsids.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm learning new things. Thank you.
Yeah, that's neat.
The idea.
That's absurd. Can you elaborate, please?
Good report card. Wonderful. That in comedy, but I should let you know. So I made a bingo card recently for our listeners on our Patreon. And I was like, hey, I've made these tiles, but if you have any other suggestions, just feel free to leave them in the comments. And one of Patreon subscribers was like, you should have a tile for when a joke doesn't work. And I'm like, that's such a great sign.
The sad tile.
That was Jade throwing that. Jade throwing shade. Thanks so much, Jade, for that comment.
Jade, that's just the free space.
No, the free space is we screw up the intro in some way. Is what I mean.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
It's got to be adaptable like in nature, it's got to evolve.
Yeah. Gotta go with the flow.
That's evolving. Yeah.
That's what evolving. People can't see it, but I did
He's making wavy, dancey, back and forthy kind of motions.
Evolution through interpretive dance. Okay. Still, though, synapsids at this point, they're still laying eggs. So I initially thought, maybe we'd get shifted into the diapsids. No, we can still be in the synapsid clade and be egg laying. So synapsids evolved over time to develop features that made them more mammal-like. Fur, whiskers, warm-bloodedness. For a long time, they were even called mammal-like reptiles, but that's misleading because they're not reptiles. The diapsids are reptiles. So we don't use that term anymore. But you can think of them, if that helps you, unofficially kind of understand where we're at. They seemed quite reptilian, and then they became more and more mammal-like over time.
Got it. Like the people that run the internet.
Yes, the secret lizard people that run the internet.
Lizard people that run the internet.
Dark web. That's all the dark web.
Are they synapsids or diapsids? I feel like that's the question you have to ask a conspiracy theorist when they're like, wait.
Which one is it?
It's like that They Live movie where you put on the glasses, but instead you have to walk up and poke their skull to see if there's an extra hole behind the eye or something.
I think I've seen that movie.
Yeah, right.
It sounds messy.
kick ass and chew bubblegum and I'm all out a bubblegum movie. So they're still laying eggs at this point, but we think the eggs didn't have a calcified outer layer. So they were more leathery. And the reason we think this is because we just haven't found eggs that have been fossilized.
Yeah.
Right. But we have found a 180 million year old fossil of a synapsid called K. entotherium. And this fossil, it was actually several fossilized individuals. There was one adult and 38 very young offspring. They were less than a month old, we think.
Very busy.
Wow, yes. I was going to say.
Because the brood was so large, we think that suggests it was probably a clutch of eggs that hatched. And that's supporting evidence that even 180 million years ago, these synapsids were still laying eggs. Now, are there animals that lay eggs today? Marco?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple that I'm thinking about right now, but I'm trying to let you lead the conversation,
jump in.
friend.
Get in there.
I mean, honestly, you're
man.
talking. When you mentioned about was there a layer of calcium or were they leathery? My brain instantly goes, and again, I'm not the sciencey background. I am an animal guy who's worked with wildlife since I was a 16-year-old kid, right? And I think about echidna, monotremes, basically, are egg-laying mammals, right?
What are monotremes?
Monotreme. I never held one before, but when I talk to my buddies who've worked with platypus specifically and echidna, they just try to describe to me this egg. And to your point, amigo, they're saying it's more of like a leathery kind of reptile egg versus a bird egg. Yeah, so that was interesting.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Egg.
Oh, no.
Exactly. Oh, take that, Jade. That pun totally landed.
Jade.
Right. So there are still mammals today in the monotremes that lay eggs. You said platypus and echidna. Are those the proper plurals?
Yes, exactly. So platypuses or echidnas. Yeah, you could say if you want platypi, but I think that's more of a if you're comfortable or not sort of scenario. But technically it's platypuses is what I would.
That's a cute nickname. Like, you're such a platypi.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Look at you little platy with your little bill and your
By the way,
tail.
the babies guys are named Puggles. Just want to point that out.
No.
I saw that. It's so cute.
I thought that was a made-up word. I saw that on the internet for
you need to
dog.
Google a Puggle echidna. One of the cutest things you've ever seen in the world. I swear. It's great.
I believe it. I mentioned to you before that my wife works with animals too, by the way. I don't know if echidna are like this. She works with a lot of North American porcupines, and she tells me that they just want to cuddle so bad. And I think it's the greatest irony that this spiky little animal is like, oh, me,
that's
are echidna
why.
like that?
And those babies called porcupet, by the way, they're super cute babies also. But luckily the quills are very soft when they're born, Yeah. So people always ask me that. What happens to mom? I'm like, don't worry, Mother Nature's got it down. Everything's fine. They are really cuddly.
That's so great.
They just love, she sends me photos every day of them like trying to climb her leg while she's cleaning their enclosure.
I don't recommend approaching a wild porcupine, everyone. These are professionals that are handling these wild animals, right? Just want to point that out.
And porcupines are very used to human, interaction with caretakers and stuff, not like they are in the wild. So
100%.
Please do not cuddle porcupines. I can't believe I have to say that on this podcast.
Do it. Please.
Okay, so you've still got mammals that lay eggs, like platypuses, like echidnas, and like you said, they're leathery, and they might lay a multiple like platypuses or one at a time like echidnas. So there's another split at some point after that, and then another split between us, the placentalia, and the marsupials, right? Kangaroos, those sorts of animals. But both placentalia and the marsupials, they all give birth to live young. Now, it's slightly different, right? Marsupials give birth to super immature young that then crawl into their pouch.
Little like jelly bean size gooey things.
You'll never eat a jelly bean again, you guys. At least not the pink one.
And then they develop the rest of the way, right? And part of the reason they have to give birth so young is their placentas are not very complex and they can't protect the developing embryo from the mother's own immune system.
Yeah,
right?
I thought that was neat in the research that I was doing. It's like I was like, okay, but why do we lay eggs in the first place?
Right.
And it's like we need an escape pod. Like the new life doesn't have the same genes as the mother. The new life doesn't have the same, if it's complicated enough, blood types, antigens, like immune systems. And so eventually, if it were just like integrated in there, the immune system's going to start to attack it and be like, this doesn't belong. Yeah. And so I don't know because I stopped researching this branch of my thing, but I was like, that's part of the reason why laying eggs is helpful in that it gets it out of there. You can get away from the immune system and go develop in a safe place that's just your genetics, which is so interesting. I'd never thought about it before.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, that's one possible advantage. I'm sure you'll cover all the advantages and disadvantages of each and what that would mean for us today.
Wow, you're really putting a lot on me.
I was going to say.
Or we can edit that out if that's not what happens.
I mean, I'll help out where I can too, guys. Let's go.
Great.
Right. So, but because both we and the marsupials give birth to live young, that means that before that point, we must have had a common ancestor that was giving birth to live young instead of laying eggs. So that's somewhere between 160 million years ago and 200 million years ago is when that must have happened, right? So all that means is really you just have to kind of rewind the evolutionary tree to that point and make that split not happen, and then fast forward to us. And how would that change us? Well, of course, it's impossible to say.
Yeah.
But one thing that we think might be a benefit of giving live birth is, it allows us to mature more fully first before, coming out. But also, we've noticed that, like, mammal skulls change over time to accommodate our developing brains. And other egg-laying animals, like the Caentotherian that I mentioned, there's evidence that their skulls didn't change as they developed and grow and change shape as much. They were just proportionally smaller, but still basically the same. So maybe it allowed for our intelligence in part,
Oh, yeah.
And because of this, it's another huge advantage of live birth. And if that's the case, we would be completely different today.
Yeah. There would be like no level of intelligence that we could achieve the way we do now. No podcasts. No podcasts, Marcus.
Of course.
Sad day.
Yeah. The other alternative is convergent evolution, right? Where maybe we lose a trait and then it comes back.
Yes.
Marco, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, well, I love that term. It just reminds me of other wildlife that I love using, convergence evolution. To your listeners, if you're trying to think about it, I would apply it to raptors. Like an eagle is not related to a hawk is not related to an owl. They look alike, but it's convergence evolution for the way they hunt, the way they've evolved, right?
Yes. Yeah. There is no like raptor term that's like well defined. It's so funny you say that. But yeah, from a biologist perspective, like raptor is meaningless.
Right, yeah. Well, I kind of use it as it's a classification the way I talk about it.
Yeah.
By the way, of all the birds, raptors are my specialty. I absolutely love raptors. Cool. But when I explain it to listeners, I kind of say it like it means to seize or to grasp the word. So it's a way of describing a type of hunting. So raptors specifically use talons to grab. And the difference would be birds of prey versus raptors, right? So like a pelican that hunts fish, that's a bird of prey technically. An egret hunting a snake, so that's kind of the way I look at it.
But the pelican's just not, cartoonishly scooping it up there instead of
they're the cutest little predator, you guys.
They're so funny.
They're so goofy.
I'm gonna get you.
I don't know. I saw a video of pelicans just like scooping up baby chicks of another species.
I was gonna say,
there's definitely some of that. There's some of that.
Kind of ruined pelicans
in Africa,
for me.
they can hunt even flamingo babies as an example. So they can be a pretty good predator. That's the wild.
Right.
That's the wild.
So up until fairly recently, biologists thought that changing from, laying eggs to giving live birth was a one-way avenue. But we don't necessarily think that anymore. It's possible that some species are redeveloping the ability to lay eggs after having developed the ability to give live birth. In particular, there's one very interesting animal called the Australian three-toed skink, which sounds like an insult to me.
It does.
It kind of does.
You three-toed skink!
You Australian.
It's Australia. They're crazy.
You Australian three-toed skink. And they're cute. They look kind of snake-like. They're definitely, they have very teeny tiny little limbs. They're technically lizards, but they look like they're on their way to being like legless lizards, which are,
which are a thing.
Skink. Yep.
Yeah.
If you ever watch Indiana Jones movies, which one is it? I think it's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, the documentary Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It's a great documentary.
When he's like dangling over a pit of reptiles and he's like, snakes.
I know.
Why did it have
Every
to be
time
snakes?
I see it, I always feel so bad for the snakes,
Those are skinks. Those are legless lizards down there.
Were they really?
They really are. If you look at their heads, you can tell from the head shape. You're like, that's a skink. That's
I gotta
not
look back.
a snake.
Yeah, I gotta go watch it. Behind the scenes with Julian Hugan.
Right. Wow. So, anyway, this little three-toed skink, not an insult, has the ability to both give birth to live young and lay eggs, and it chooses one or the other depending on which environment it's in. If it's on the coast, it'll lay eggs, but if it's up in the mountains, it'll give birth to live young.
Cool.
And
That's
researchers aren't sure which way it's going. If it's, redeveloping the ability to lay eggs or if it's developing the ability to give live birth. They don't know, but it's possible it's going back towards laying eggs, which would mean, Marco, if that were the case for us, and obviously a lot would have to change.
Right.
But it's not, strictly speaking, impossible given a long enough time span. And if that's the case, who knows why we've done that or what's going on in the world to facilitate that.
Right. And to your point of convergence evolution, the world's changing. I mean, I remember going to Costa Rica and learning about a certain species of frog that has skipped the development of embryo to tadpole and just skipped certain stages in that development due to the lack of water, actually. So it's not surprising to me that this particular skink species in Australia is starting to change that attribute. I mean, there are some snakes that will actually carry their eggs inside of themselves, and it appears that they're giving live birth, but technically they're still carrying a reptile egg within themselves. So it kind of, I guess, depends on how you interpret it.
Yep.
Right?
That's a third category I did not mention, but you're correct. Ovoviviparous is the name of that, which is like when you combine oviparous and viviparous, right?
One of the things that I found while I was researching this specific part, I had some of the bits about synapsids, but I didn't get into the details you did, and I'm really glad that we double covered this. But University of Washington paleontologist Christian Sidor was looking at evolutionary history through fossils and said, obviously synapsids were laying eggs for millions of years, and then live birth, they said, through these fossil records have evolved 100 different times. And so, it's not just like, we've, to use the corporate term that we sort of used before, it's not a one-way door. You can end up going back to eggs again. You could end up having convergent evolution where a bunch of different species are like, actually, it's better if they pop out ready to go rather than pop out as an egg. So I think that's pretty interesting. And they said paleobiologists and geneticists all have hypotheses as to why this is happening, but they don't really know. They just know that looking at the fossil record, it seems to keep coming up, and which I thought was kind of neat.
And it makes me wonder, what our evolution is going to be now as a human being. No science evidence by any means, but I just look at, let's say, the culture in the United States, running and going and running. It makes me think, behaviorally speaking, we may want to approach the concept of, I'm going to lay my egg, put it in an incubator, set it aside, let that thing do what it needs to do, and I got to go. I got traffic. I got a meeting.
Marco, I got you.
I think I brought us up to present day. I will gently hand off this story that I have been incubating to you.
Oh,
nice.
That's
Thank
so
you.
nice.
Thank you.
I thought, actually, do we want to go to Marco and then come back to me at the end?
Oh, finish it? Sandwich style?
Yeah.
Okay. Stay tuned, listeners. We don't have a organizational structure here.
This is what happens when you get a bunch of ADHD people and you're like, want to do a show?
Yeah, it's going great. Well, let's take a little break and then we'll come back. Marco, you can tell us your answer to your question, and then we'll wrap it up with Trace at the tail end.
All right, welcome back from that ad break, which I'm sure there were so many ads there. I'm so happy that we're making all of that ad money. Anyway, Marco.
Hello.
Marco is here from the San Diego Zoo, and he's going to answer a question that was sent in by a listener. Marco, what was your question?
Well, a big shout out to Megan, because I absolutely love this question. So the premise of the question was, how would our Earth exist, or how would the Earth be without the presence of birds? Basically, is what the question was proposed, right?
Yeah.
What a great question. I mean, you had a lot of very interesting questions, by the way. You have really diverse listeners. Awesome questions, but this one really stood out to me for a lot of different reasons, you know.
Is it because I'm getting just the faintest hint that you are a bird guy?
Are you hearing the squawking in the background?
I wore a flamingo patterned shirt just
Did
for
you really?
Because I knew you were a bird guy.
You know, admittedly, I was going to do this recording in front of a cassowary, but I thought it might have been a little too much going on at the safari park.
I would be so distracted.
So I'm in an office, you know, 4 walls, artificial lighting, full ring.
Probably
but I got to do it
though.
so I can get focused, right?
Do cassowaries make noise?
They do make noise. In fact, they have the deepest vocal of any bird on planet Earth. So like vocals of elephants. I can do my version if you want. So it's kind of
like the James Earl Jones of birds.
100%. So picture that baritone. I'm not that deep in my voice, but it's kind of like a it goes through jungle.
We should get an actual recording of cassowary and put it in there for the impression, and then just be like, "Wow, that was amazing!
That was really good."
I can't even tell the difference.
That was so good, Marco.
You know what, cassowary-wise, I'm so high-pitched. I'm going to be like the chipmunk. Like when the Chipmunks made a soundtrack, it's going to be that version.
The other cassowaries are going to be like, that cassowary inhaled some helium.
I mean, Hermano, I'm telling you. I mean, I tried. I had a cassowary when I was managing them at the safari park vocalize right in front of me, and I couldn't record the sound with my phone because it was so deep. But my chest, my rib cage was vibrating. Just how powerful that sound was. So it is shocked. Wicked. Yeah.
That's so funny because I also think of cassowaries as terrifying because they look like dinosaurs.
Yeah,
I know. I feel it. But you know what I tell people is think of a cassowary like a rhino. We all know enough not to piss a rhino off, right? For obvious reasons. Yeah. And I would say the same thing for a cassowary, you know? So they actually want to avoid aggression, you know, but if push comes to shove, well, they're going to shove. And they're going to shove pretty hard.
Now I'm picturing the Jurassic Park scene with the vibrating water, but it's a cassowary vocalization. And the kids look out of the car and it's just like a 4-foot tall bird.
Oh my God. Every single morning I'd go into the cassowary habitat and I would whistle the Jurassic Park theme. And I'd see these cassowaries just quietly pushing through the bush to get to me. And it was such a dinosaur moment.
Clever girl.
That's cool. 100%. Yeah. Very, very clever. Life always finds a way, gentlemen. Always finds a way. We're getting distracted with the birds.
Yeah.
So,
welcome to Cassowary Chat, our new podcast.
Cassowaries.
It's only for people who can hear sub below 20 hertz.
And by the way, I was excited to do this episode with you guys. I love the premise. And, you know, I apply my work to give a little background of why my story is the way it is. You know, I am an animal trainer. I've worked at the safari park since I was 16 years old. So my background is working with wildlife. So everything I'm going to tell you is really from my experiences with the animals that I've worked alongside at the safari park or the San Diego Zoo. And a lot of my research too, I might add, of course, you know, being the spokesperson that I am, I'm going to promote our website. So, you know, sandiegozoo.org or scsaFariPark.org. We have a lot of good information on our wildlife. So my mission was to describe what would happen to our planet or how our planet would have been without the presence of birds, right? So I want everyone sort of it's going to be story time, gentlemen, what's happening. So picture a world without the birds. Get your popcorn ready, get a little blanket. So we're going to go down the line. I want to systematically point out certain things that birds do for our beautiful blue planet and what is now going to mean for our planet without having birds ever have existed, right? So there's certain niches I want to talk about. So the first one, because we talked about cassowary, I want to talk about the importance of birds being seed dispersers and also pollinators, right? There's a variety of plants, diverse species of plants that grow best, for instance, like a cassowary, when they go through the gut of a cassowary as an example. There's over 30 different species, right? Endangered trees and plants that grow best when they go through the gut of a cassowary.
Wait, grow best? Like they can grow, but it grows better if the cassowary is already
100%. Basically, I'm talking about that delicious excrement, that rich nitrate-based, fruit poo pile that it's planted that seed and just sprouts out, and it is a very happy plant, amigo. You know, so I mean, systematically, what I was thinking, so in my role as a zoo representative, I think about the niche that a certain wildlife fulfills, and what other animals are going to have to fill that niche, right? Evolve to fill those necessities for the wild. So when we talk about seed dispersers, I'm looking looking at southern cassowary. And I also want to use other species that maybe your listeners are familiar with, like a parrot, right? Everyone knows parrots, very tropical species. Some are found in New Zealand and alpine areas. Our thick-billed parrot is our only parrot that's wild in the United States, I might add. And helps actually pine cones, all right? The dispersing of seeds from pine cones as well. So when you think about an animal like a southern cassowary, let's think of that. We're talking about deep jungle, right? What other animals in that area fulfill a similar niche? Now, have any of you ever heard of a tapir before, or tapir, depending how you want to pronounce it? Are you familiar with this animal,
As
right?
a matter of fact, since the acronym for our show is TAPE, we call listeners internally tapirs.
Oh, really? Oh, well,
we do.
That's perfect. Perfect.
Slash, our loves slash our tormentors. We call them all.
It's not a bad animal to be joined with, right? They're remarkable. They're big. In case your listeners aren't familiar, it's a very large mammal species found in Asia and South America. About maybe the size of a very small river hippo. So a little bit smaller, but still a very robust size. And so I'm thinking you're going to have more of these larger mammalian type species that are going to roam certain jungle areas to help disperse those seeds. But also, we're going to have other species that are more arboreal, like our parrot species that are fulfilling those niches in, say, Africa, Australia, Asia, South America, Central America, and of course, the United States area as well. So think about other species that do seed dispersal in the way that parrots do. They're really messy eaters. I don't know if you have someone in your family during a dinner, that one person dropping food everywhere. I mean, that's what parrots do, right? That's what they need to do.
Yeah, if your face is like, those construction machines with the big the grabbers, if that's your whole face, right? And you have to eat seeds, it's gonna be hard,
and
it's gonna be a mess.
Also, we have put your feet as far away and the only thing you can grab with as possible. So you have to do yoga and then manipulate a tiny little seed with your giant construction claws.
And you have arms, but you cannot grab things with them.
No, you cannot.
It's a cool joke to be played on parrots.
Going elsewhere. Humans evolving to be seed dispersers now with super ridiculously long toes is what I'm envisioning now. But that's something different altogether. But you think of all these. You walk around. If you're listening to this podcast episode right now and you're walking outside right now, look around the sky, look at the plants, look how much birds are implemented in our ecosystem. So think of those niches alone for the seed dispersers of our world. We're going to have areas in our jungles, in our forests, in our cityscapes where we're going to have animals maybe more similar to squirrels or monkeys, more populated mammals of that species being more engrossed in these nuances of dispersing seed. Now, when I was researching a little more, it also gave the note that we might have less diverse species of plants because of this, because we're dropping one major participant of seed dispersal on our planet. And it keeps going on. I mean, I wanted to pick top 2 or 3 for all these niches, right? Because we could talk forever about this. But I was also thinking our pollinators. There's so many other species out there that pollinate that we don't know about. Everyone is very familiar with the hummingbird. So I wanted to use the hummingbird as an example. And a hummingbird, the diversity of their eyesight, they see spectrums of light that we don't see as a human being, right? Like ultraviolet light, as an example. Our insects, our hummingbirds, raptors, Senor Julian, for instance, kite can see the urine of a mouse when it's hovering over a field. So ultraviolet light is big for birds, but hummingbirds, one of their favorite colors is red. So a lot of plants will actually show a certain color variation depending what pollinator they want to attract. So my brain started going, okay, so if birds like hummingbirds and bees and other insect pollinators see UV light, we're going to still be seeing a lot of yellow, maybe some white, maybe some greens and blues. But red in particular, I'm sure there's an insect out there that's attracted to red as much as a hummingbird, but it made me think, are we going to have less colorful flowers now as well? Because we don't have pollinators like hummingbirds in the mix. So
more cool colors, more the purpley, whitey color.
Right? And so maybe it's lack of diversity, and that's going to be the theme for me, lack of diversity in color as well for some of these plant species. And also, think about how these plants are being dispersed, right? We talked about a cassowary that can travel for kilometers in the jungles of northeastern Australia and New Guinea, defecate and make plants grow. Or a parrot can fly, for miles on end through a jungle. But other species we've studied here at the safari park, an example, rattlesnakes, guys, can be a disperser as well. Yeah, no, my mind got blown out as well. So shout out to Jeff Lem, our reptile specialist over at the safari park, who actually a little field day that I had going out there tracking local red diamondback rattlesnakes for a conservation project we were doing. He was letting me know that now there's a study showing that rattlesnakes as well can help disperse seeds. They're consuming a rodent as an example, and the same thing, right? They're like cruising around.
They
do their rattlesnake thing.
Like they eat the rodent that's eating the seeds. And then it's right. All right, I guess that counts. I don't know. That feels like taking credit for something somebody else was going to do anyway.
No way.
Yeah, I think the reptile guy might be overplayed. That seed's getting pooped out by a rodent that's running around anyway.
This is the group project where Rattlesnake throws his name on the slide at the end, but didn't go to any of the meetings.
Just as long as they're reaching the same goal. What's that Robert Frost poem? Like, the road less traveled, right? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Right, so maybe it's just a different road altogether.
Sure, yeah, this road just has a lot of snakes pooping on it.
I mean, it could be that. It could be, just to blow your minds even further, we know that gnu or wildebeest are also very prevalent seed dispersers in Africa. They have if you know, they have this really silly-looking beard in front of their faces.
Because they're eating rattlesnaks, right?
So totally, and then defecating right after. No.
It's just a chain of things eating mice.
It's all about the beard, guys. And that beard is collecting that seed material, right? And then moving around and doing the same thing. I just recently learned that okapi, which is a cousin of the giraffe.
The only extant cousin. You might think it's related to the zebra because it's got the stripes on the hindquarters, but no, it's a giraffe relative.
That's right, hermano. Dropping the knowledge. I appreciate it. Double snaps for that. But no, exactly right. So you think of all these other mammal species and also keep going, insects alone that are going to be those seed dispersers. So I think I've harped enough with the seed dispersers and the pollinators. But so that's one particular niche. Of course, I want to talk about raptors and birds of prey and what they do for our wonderful world, right? So there's a saying I use in the safari park that you get 2 mice, you put them in a field, you give them food, you give them water, you just let them do their own thing, no predator. In 1 year, it's 1 million mice. 1 million mice. And it's usually a narration of what I'm talking about. I know your eyes are getting really big, Julian. I know. Can you imagine?
I can't imagine. Like,
that's too many mice?
That's so much time in your day. How do they watch Love is Blind? Like,
I know, not enough room on the couch.
Julian, they don't need to watch Love is Blind.
They are. They're good.
They're
a lot of love.
Yeah.
No, but think about that. Think about just the food web, how intricate our food web is around the world, and all the different animals. Or we were just talking about earlier, right? Raptors and birds of prey. A lot of birds are predators that people don't think about. Obviously, there were the raptors, the eagles, hawks, falcons, owls, merlins, the kites, the kestrels, the secretary birds. These are expert meat-eating raptors. They use feet or talons to hunt their prey. And those bird eaters, right? The other ones, the birds of prey, we're talking about the pelican. There's a little songbird here called the black-crested phoebe. I don't know if you're familiar with this little bird here. It's a insect. It's a flycatcher. So they're flying around and just gulping up mosquitoes and little insects and things of that nature, right?
Love that.
Right? We
get out of here, mosquitoes.
Less mosquitoes. Thank you, sir. But now think about the lack of that kind of avian predator on our planet. Everything from even a pelican to a penguin. So we're going to have these weird nuances that, in my theory, is that we're going to have more insects prevalent in our world. A very good mosquito hunter, by the way, is a dragonfly. I'm a big fan of a dragonfly. I don't know about you guys,
cool.
right?
Fastest insect. So zippy.
Right? The best flyers, right? Amazing hunters. So I think we're going to have a higher diversity of insect population, which is great because insects are very crucial for our planet Earth. But it's going to fill those niches. We might be stepping outside of our cityscapes. Instead of seeing maybe a peregrine falcon, maybe we'll see a horde of dragonflies flying around our cityscapes trying to hunt those mosquitoes out there. Cool. So it's going to be a very interesting niche that different mammal species, reptiles as well, right?
Can I have a counterpoint though to more insects cool? Because I think there's a historical case why this would be disastrous.
Oh, really, Julian? Tell us.
Have you heard of the
malaria?
Hold on.
Oh,
no, not malaria.
I mean, there's that.
Great Sparrow Campaign.
The Great Sparrow Campaign. It rings a bell, but please elaborate.
So
go ahead, Julian.
I just pulled this up. In 1958, in communist China, they launched a campaign to encourage people to kill like 4 great pests as they saw it: mosquitoes, flies, sparrows, and rats. And the thinking was, like, for sparrows in particular, they eat the grain in the field, and if we kill them, we'll have more grain available to harvest, right? So they killed millions of sparrows.
So sad.
And then 2 years later, the locusts ate all the crops, and there was a famine. And it was a disaster.
I mean, I see the point.
As we always say on the show, like, there's a difference between, like, I wave a magic wand and all the birds disappear, or, you know, they just never evolved in the first place.
Right.
Because you have a system in balance, right, if it, like, evolved this way, but if there's a sudden drastic change, like, you can expect
the world will be done. We'll be done. And that's what, honestly, that's what I first thought approaching the question was that in my head. Like, if bird just disappeared in 1 minute.
Like overnight,
we're done.
Super
we're dead.
Bad.
We are
Super
screwed.
Real bad.
But this was more like, they never existed, right? So, I mean, I didn't go far back to the evolution of dinosaur species and that sort of thing. I wanted just to try to paint a picture of what our world is going to be. And to your point, Edmano, we're going to get a lot more going on. Locust species, other insects that are really ravaging our crop systems around the world. But, nature, I'm going to get that Jurassic Park line, nature finds a way. So we're going to have, it's kind of playful imagining what kind of predator nuances we're going to have now with the variety of insects and reptiles and mammals that are filling those niches, right? And just a little side to your point, too, of how detrimental it could be for human civilization. I'm a big vulture fan. I don't know about you guys.
But, vultures are cool.
I respect the vulture.
I respect them, right?
We had an episode where Sam Jones from Tiny Matters, the podcast, tackled the most disgusting animal, and she landed on the turkey vulture, and her reasons were multitude for why it was the most disgusting animal.
What?
But we walked out of that episode being like, okay, they are disgusting, but they are super neat.
But I need you, you know?
Yeah, but we
like
need what you do.
A sewage system is disgusting, but I need the sewage system.
You need it, yeah.
I want to disagree, and I don't feel turkey vultures are most. I mean, my brain went to human. Compared to other animals, we do some pretty gross things. Maybe it doesn't sound gross to you, but even
we
drinking,
make Love is Blind.
I mean, drinking the milk of another animal is pretty gross to me. We're the only living thing that does that, right? I mean, I can go on, but
that's a European thing. That's not all of us. That's just the light-skinned among us.
That's just the Northern Europeans who are like, no, this is totally normal, right? This is normal, right?
I'm going to drink whatever's hanging off of that thing. I'm going to drink what's coming out of it.
Right?
That looks good to me.
Marco Wendt from San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance can neither confirm nor deny that statement.
Julian, descendant of white Europeans, can. So
there you go. You preach to your demographic. I'm gonna lean on my wildlife over here. But to your point, Fred, I mean, maybe someone can look at a turkey vulture. Maybe if a turkey vulture urinates on its legs, they think it's kind of gross. But I'll say I peed in the shower. You just want to point that out. We do some pretty gross things as human beings, right? But the vultures are to your episode, I'm sure your listeners are well aware of the importance of vultures. There is one study that I wanted to note for this specific one. Vultures, they are we always say the cleanup crew of the animal world. They not only help the vitality of ecosystems from the Americas to Africa to Asia, they help mitigate a lot of diseases like anthrax and tuberculosis and botulism. And unfortunately, and I guess in a little bit fortunately that we got to see what had happened, that there was a giant disappearance of deaths of vultures in Asia that happened due to a drug called diclofenac. So this is a drug that some people would use for their local cattle, as an example, cows for heart issues, basically. It doesn't hurt the cow, doesn't hurt the human. Everything was copacetic. So we thought. But then we realized if a cow with that drug or another mammal that had been given that drug, diclofenac, passes away, vultures come in, do what they do. They weren't able to process that toxin, and then would die. And so thousands and thousands of vultures disappeared in areas in India, as an example. What we found out in these areas where vultures were completely removed from those ecosystems, weird things started happening, you guys. So for one, domesticated feral dogs started coming into areas, consuming carcasses, and actually contracting rabies. And then rabies started spreading around those internal communities. And not only that, all that happening was also filtering into the water systems and actually dirtying up and polluting our water sources as well. And it was affecting human beings in those environments. So, and that's just small example, right, of what happens when we remove our vultures. But, the question is, what would happen if vultures disappeared in 1 minute? The question was if birds never existed, right? So now think of the mammalian or reptilian scavengers out there that are going to fill those niches. Can you guys think of some? I mean, I got some top of my head. Like, what are you thinking?
I was thinking like iguanas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Reptiles. I mean,
they're cool.
Could be an iguana, right? Well, I use like right now. So what's to me, a dynamic reptilian scavenger to me, but also a hunter is a Komodo dragon. Right?
Oh,
Think about a Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
So you guys,
so we have Komodo dragon infestation.
I was just going to say, I live in San Diego. I mean, I don't know if I want a Komodo-sized dragon lizard roaming around trying to find, carcasses out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be quite the beast out there.
Like, we have like the raccoon. They'd just be like the Komodo dragon. Be like, who tipped over my trash cans? Oh, it's the Komodo dragon.
Trace, I didn't even think about this, but what if a raccoon, being the opportunistic animal that they are, what if they reverted more to being a scavenger? What if they became more of that? Now imagine a meat-eating scavenger raccoon. I don't know what that would look like, but
raccoons taste for human flesh.
I was going to say the jaw muscles. I mean, think about the adaptations mammals need to scavenge. Think about a hyena, right? A very powerful bite of a hyena to break bones, rip hide out of an animal. So we might have unique species here in the Americas, like our coyote as an example, our gray fox here in Southern California. These animals may adapt differently, maybe thicker jaw structures. So maybe we as human beings are going to have to be a little more careful with whatever, because I say scavengers, but scavengers can take opportunities as well. But, think of that weird nuance.
Maybe the bald heads of the vultures so they can get into the guts, and then have the sun bake it off, right? Can you imagine like a big-headed bald like
a bald coyote?
That's a hellhound.
I was actually thinking, I was thinking like a bald raccoon, like a big fluffy tail,
Do you think they still have the little stripe on the skin?
I doubt it. No, I don't think they would.
I don't know. Do they have?
You ever seen like a shaved dog and it's still got kind of the spot pattern?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe. Maybe they'll keep it because they need to absorb light. So maybe be a dark pigmentation going around the eye, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows, right? But again, it fills that niche, and there's other animals like the jackal and the crocodile, of course, but it makes you wonder, what if there was even an insect? I think about flies and other insects that do that. But again, to your point, Julian, the amount of insects that are going to be in our planet to fulfill the pollinator role,
high,
right? Extremely high. Ooh, the flies are going to be gnarly, gentlemen.
We talked about the evolution of flight in the past, and the thinking goes that, insects were the first to really adapt to the niche of the air, and then birds took flight sometime after that because there's all these insects flying around.
And they're like, ooh, look, free food.
Yeah, totally,
there's the food, right? So if birds don't happen, then the insects just run unchecked. They just rule the skies until bats come, I guess.
Yeah, I just been playing over the last maybe month or two. Julian and I have been talking about this offline. I got this old game called Cyberpunk. It's like a 3-dimensional, wander around an open world game. But in the lore of the game, you're in this city in the middle of basically Central California, and they had an avian flu. It's in the nearish future, like the 2070s.
Oh, wow.
And they removed all the birds from the area. Like within miles of the city, they killed every bird because they were worried about avian flu spreading to people.
Okay.
And I just thinking of it now was like part of the game is there's just bugs everywhere. There's flies in every building. It's not exactly a clean environment. That's part of the dystopianness of it. But if you think about it from an evolutionary or an adaptation perspective, I guess, if you remove all those birds, there's nothing to eat those insects. So of course there's insects everywhere. Yeah. There's all these flies, there's all these roaches, there's just everything all over the place because nothing is coming to consume them, which is actually kind of neat to think about.
And curious too. It makes me wonder. I still have a lot of faith in nature, where nature will express itself and adapt itself in so many different ways. And I know it's impossible to think, but these theories of what plants will do to try to attract pollinators, as an example, or what the diversity of plants would be, right, with the pollinating, the seed dispersing. But I think we would still have a fairly beautiful world. But man, it's going to be insect heavy. There's going to be a buzzing going around. For sure. And, Julian, you're talking about flight, and that actually was my next one that I wanted to kind of highlight, the concept of flight. And to your point, too, insects have evolved flight well before birds had ever done. So would it have maybe lessened the development of our flight as human beings, the inspiration that we adopted from different birds out there. I mean, think about a hummingbird, the rotary wings, right? The theory is that inspired helicopters in flight, as an example. A turkey vulture with the large 5-6 foot wingspan for inspiring us for gliders of that nature, right? For our soaring birds. Or the more popular one to me that a lot of people are probably most aware of is the bee bomber, those type of small fighter jets being inspired by the peregrine falcon, the best flyer on our planet, right?
The B-2, right? The profile of it looks exactly like a peregrine falcon in a dive. Although from the top, it's a very different planiform. I'm sorry, I'm a plane guy. You're a bird. I'm a plane guy.
Watch out! Okay, guys,
the
guys,
come on. The B-2 is a big. It's just a wing. It's a very strange aircraft because it's just a flying wing.
So, I mean, what do you guys think? What do you think our airplanes would be now at this point? Would we have planes where they look the same way? Would be inspired by a dragonfly, maybe, right? Or another type of insect?
A lot of early attempts at flight were very much trying to mimic the way birds fly. And so to your point, if our only example really is insect wings, which we still don't understand very well how they generate lift, right? There's a theory. They have quite a complex like figure of 8 motion as they flap around. And we think this generates vortices that produce lift like above the wing. And I can't imagine trying to replicate that because airplane wings are so dead simple by comparison, right? It's just like a curve on top, flat on the bottom. It makes high pressure below, low pressure above, and that's it. And you can see some of that shape in bird wings as well. And so, when they're not flapping, obviously. It's true. It's interesting to imagine, like, would we even have gotten as far?
I know. I want to say we would.
Would somebody have figured it out?
I think so, but probably way longer in history. It'll probably take us a hot minute, right?
Flight's not that old. The first powered flight was 1903. If you look at it that way, like, we might be substantially set back. We might still be in, like, the propeller plane era.
Oh, man.
If we even got there, I mean,
I was going to say,
what would we be inspired by?
Yeah.
Like, all we saw flying around were these teeny tiny mammals and impossibly tiny, insects in comparison. It's just like, well, maybe we would think that flying wasn't even on the menu. Like, wasn't even a thing that we could do because we're not seeing...
Like a heavy animal doing it.
Heavier animals do it. We just don't see them doing it.
Yeah, I see us maybe trying more gliding aspects. I think about a sugar glider as an example. Or I mean, there's a lizard called a Draco lizard that has fringes that helps it glide down. Now you're looking it up right now. They open up those legs and it's a beautiful lizard. Check it out. But
I've seen these.
Yeah,
it's like those wingsuit
wingsuit sky jumper people.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of trial and error with flight in that regard. So birds have inspired us for all those technical reasons, which made my brain expand even further. And that was actually a whole afternoon of just thinking the poetry of it. I was inspired by birds when I was a child for a lot of different reasons. The aspect of freedom, my family, not to bring up religion, but they're Catholic. So I want to bring up different inspirations that birds have done through history in human civilization. Would we have the concept of angels, as an example? Yeah. My family's from Mexico, and there's a lot of indigenous communities. My mom's side is Zapotec, as an example, and they lived alongside the Aztecs, and there were gods like Quetzalcoatl, which people are familiar with, the serpent god, but had feathers on it as well. So all these different concepts
because they understood that birds are reptiles. Yes.
I'm in an office, but I kind of want to do that. Exactly right, friends. Yeah. Birds have inspired us in so many different ways, so many monotheistic religions and different aspects of culture all throughout our civilizations, right?
Poetry, songs, right? Movies. 100%. Alfred Hitchcock's The What? The what?
It would just be the dragonflies.
I don't know. The dragonfly?
The blank. And then it's just people going about their day. Nothing bad happens.
I'm not a guitarist, but isn't for like Freebird the first song you learn?
It's like the hardest song possible to learn. But yeah. It's super difficult to play the Freebird solo.
Free Komodo Dragon or something,
Yeah.
So my brain went to that also. I know it's not a science-based or the cultural-based dynamic of culture.
Right?
Now. I know, right? Oh man, but also with all this, the dynamics of the Earth, how it evolves, how it shapes, Earth would still exist, I feel, Megan. It'll still be a beautiful planet. I think the hues and the colors will vary. I think the diversity of plant life will be a little more minimal and concentrated, depending on the development of mammal species and insects. I think it's going to be heavily insect, on our planet as well. But also on a personal note, get off! I'm trying to talk to you. This mosquito just landed in my face. But even just on a personal note, like, birds have inspired me to do the work that I do. And I'd like to believe that I still would have been inspired by another animal out there on the planet when I was a child, to get me into the work that I did. But it was all about birds, you guys. And they mean so much for different reasons. I don't want to live in a world without birds. So, Megan, I really appreciate the question, but I don't think I want to live on that planet, I need me some birds in my life.
I like that.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
It's not for the birds. You're for the birds.
Oh,
yeah. The birds are for you.
Thank you, sir. I love it. Yeah. So that's kind of where I went down with it. So hopefully I kind of painted an interesting picture of an Earth without birds. It
doesn't seem great.
No,
honestly.
It doesn't
seem great.
No.
I mean, it seems great. It's still Earth. It's
still Earth. We're still alive, right.
Edgar Allan Poe wouldn't be tortured so much, so that's a plus.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, maybe that would be better.
Wouldn't be a raven. It'd be like, I don't know.
Who would you quoth then?
A beetle.
You've got no one to quoth. Yeah. Quoth the beaver.
Quoth the flying squirrel.
Not at all. It doesn't quite have the same connotation to me,
not at all. For sure.
Let's take a quick break and come back with the second half of the first question because we messed up. But you already know that.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is how we planned this. This is fine.
In the chat, I put a link to what a raccoon looks like with no hair. So when we come back,
Yes!
No!
Oh my God, I gotta look at this real quick. I'm opening it up.
Okay.
Oh!
It's a turkey with a face. With like
you're kind of right. It still has the black around the eye.
It does. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
This raccoon has no hair. And I like that the other raccoon does look like it's a Reddit post. So it says, raccoon, look, this is my buddy with alopecia. And the raccoon is kind of being like, here you go.
All right, well, now that we've had our fun and seen a bald raccoon, let's finish up Marco's question on what it would be like if humans laid eggs. Trace, take it away.
Yeah, so Julian, you covered kind of what it would be like, almost like why animals are laying eggs, what egg laying might look like, et cetera, et cetera. But I spent most of my research looking at what would a human egg look like?
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And so I love that. It's funny because we brought up Jurassic Park a couple times. And in Jurassic Park, there is that scene where you can see that they have laid eggs. And they're these kind of capsule or like pill-shaped eggs.
Right.
And I think humans would have an egg of that shape. Yeah. And let me tell you why. The average baby head in a current, live birth situation is about 35 centimeters circumference, or about 11 centimeters across. That's 14 inches, 4.5 inches. So grapefruit sized. So without too much anatomy change, because the thing is, I think we are three men talking about this.
We have to acknowledge that, yes.
Yeah. Nobody here's given birth, as far as I know.
None of us have given birth. However, there is a thing in biology where they say the pelvis is a compromise, where we have to be able to be bipedal. We walk upright, so the pelvis needs to have strong anchor points for those bipedal muscles to keep us upright. But they also have to have a hole in it to let out the offspring. And if you don't have the hole, you're not going to make any more offspring. And so it's a compromise. And there are debates as to whether this hypothesis is accurate. There are some biologists who don't think that this is the way to think about the pelvis. But if we accept that we don't want to change the pelvis too much. It's already gone through so many rounds of adaptation to get it to where it is now. Let's just leave it alone. So we know we can fit a grapefruit through the pelvis. So let's imagine what egg would need to be able to do that. So oblong egg of a grapefruit size would be pretty big, 30 to 40 centimeters long. So a little over a foot long. And inside of it would be a fetus. Now, this is where I had a lot of trouble. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out where, because the thing about eggs is once they're out of your body, You're not giving them any more nutrients. Like a seed, you have to give it as much as possible, kick it out of the body, and then it's just on its own. Mm-hmm. So if you had this fetus inside of a grapefruit, we're very complicated. We're like 40-week gestation period. So when do we kick it out? Where if we kick it out of the body, it can still grow. Mm-hmm. However, we aren't kind of destroying the body to get it out of us. Like we can't birth a watermelon-sized egg. It just wouldn't. We would die as a species.
Sounds super painful too. I gotta say.
Not me.
Really great.
As a man, I'm fine. Oh no, right. The whole species. You're right. I guess this does affect me.
Mad respect for all our human sisters out there. I just want to point that
that's
out.
Right. People, all the people's birthing stuff. Thank you for doing it. So humans are bad at scale. So I'm using grapefruit as an example. I downloaded one of the apps where you can track your baby's size so that I could, get some size comparisons.
Okay.
For 80s, 90s nostalgia comparison, this would be Furby-sized baby. Disney comparison, Peter Pan's hat, which he's animated, so I don't actually know if that really
I don't have that, in my back pocket as a size ref.
No.
Right, that's not what... And then another one, Snacks, was another, and I'm like, that's weird, because it's a baby. It's like a fetus.
That's a little odd.
But,
you said
but then
Snacks?
They're
Snacks.
Snacks.
Yeah.
It was like a category of comparison, and it was big as a medium-sized water bottle, and I was like, that's not helpful. Anyway, grapefruit, 23 weeks of gestation, the whole fetus is about the size of a grapefruit. Okay. So using the final size of a fetus, and we kind of back up and be like, okay, if the whole fetus can fit into that egg, then we're okay. We can kind of push the egg out. So that's about 23 weeks, which at that point, with medical help, a fetus is technically viable, which is also evolutionarily kind of good, right? Like if the egg, something's wrong with it, obviously it's very unlikely to survive, but on its own. But with medical intervention in the modern day, we could help. But so based on gestational needs, we're only a little over halfway. So you'd then need to push the egg out. So how would we do that, right? We would need basically a long grapefruit egg, again, 35 or 40 centimeters long.
Yeah.
And it would have to be soft, like a turtle egg or like a reptilian egg that's more leathery.
An echidna egg.
Is it like an echidna egg? Exactly.
Right,
so you have this very long, leathery egg, and then once it's laid, because it's such a long period after that, you have to keep it warm for another 10 to 15 weeks before it gets to 39, 40-week gestation. So it would have to harden, I think, for safety. So you would pull it out, cuddle it, and it would dry over the next couple of days to harden up.
Huh. My brain went to I think we would bury it personally. I think we would.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Cool.
Because, we're mammals.
Because we're warm-blooded.
Yeah,
because the fetus is also warm-blooded.
And I'm going to the ones we got right now, you guys. We got the echidnas and the platypuses, I think we would maybe not as developed, so we can get out of that opening, with our pelvic bone to your reference, we would lay that egg. It would develop, I think, in a burrow. But now with technology, maybe it'd be like an incubator.
It'd just have incubators and stuff.
Hooked it with my Wi-Fi, I could start my coffee and then I could change temperature, but
and then there'd be a movement to go back to the old way of doing it, put it in the mud instead.
I sit on my egg. I don't know about you.
And there'd be a lot of unnecessary judgment. Yeah, for sure.
Trace, you made me think the Conehead movie. If the baby hatches, will it have a cone head?
Yeah, maybe at first, although it's small enough that the egg is really the 11 centimeter diameter, and the fetus inside, the whole fetus is just grapefruit size.
You're right.
So,
you're right. You're right.
So the egg being much bigger means that it can grow to regular fetal size. So it might not get that smushed. But I don't know. I thought this sounds horrifying, by the way. Birthing a giant capsule-sized leathery thing after 23 weeks of gestation and growing. I thought that sounds...
It sounds frightening, but a friend of mine recently gave birth. I got to point out to interrupt you, Trace, but a fellow wildlife care specialist at Safari Park, I will not say their name, but I proposed this question. And without a beat, she would tell me, I would much rather have laid an egg than carry this baby.
Yeah. You know what, Marco? I was talking to my wife about this, and she's like, I would have much rather laid an egg.
Egg all day. Egg all day. Yeah.
All day, because it's smooth. It's squishier. It doesn't have the bones right there. You don't have to worry about breach. You don't have to worry about shoulders. You don't have to worry about as long as it's not punctured, you're kind of just squeezing it out.
You bring up laying the egg at the 23-week mark, but I think that's unnecessary. I think you could have an egg the size of like the 23-week embryo, but lay it, almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then the remaining, 39 weeks or whatever, just make sure that nothing bad happens to it while you go about your day, right?
But then you need an egg big enough to grow a fetus big enough to actually have a developed fetus. So that's why I was like, a developed fetus's volume is going to be of about like 1.5 feet long, but grapefruit circumference. So if you lay a smaller egg, wouldn't you end up limiting the size of your offspring?
It can be the full-sized shell, and the offspring starts out tiny inside of it and grows and grows and grows. And this is what animals
you could do that, yes.
do anyway, right? Because I when I was looking into my research, right, we don't see any animals that like partially gestate the egg inside of them and then hatch it and let it continue developing, because there's the trade-offs, you're getting the worst of both worlds that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, true.
And so, you lay it early on in its development, and the egg is big enough to accommodate how big it's going to get, but it's not that size yet. And so then you just chill on top of it. And so I think that's an even more appealing deal if like I was the one who 100%. Had to lay it.
Right?
That is more appealing. You're right. I think the reason I chose this worst of both worlds is, one, because I thought it was more interesting, but two, I did a video once about how many calories are required to grow a baby. Because I thought that was interesting. Like, from end to end, how many additional calories does someone have to consume in order to build another human? And it's not as many as you think. It works out to be the average of about 100 calories per day throughout the 40 weeks. But it's not linear. It's not 100 calories every day. Some days it's only a few, and some days it's a lot. And as you might guess, the later in the process, the more calories you are needing at different parts. So until it's like at the very, very end when it kind of drops off again. So it's like I think you might have to keep it in the body because there'd be a huge amount of energy. Imagine if you are a person who births an egg, you are consuming a ridiculous amount of calories, like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of calories extra to put into an egg. And there's already issues with human females in the way we birth now with calcium depletion. So if you have to make an eggshell, now you're worried about and where it comes from, if you don't eat enough calcium during pregnancy, we often prescribe supplements and things to avoid bone loss, because that's where the calcium has to come from.
Maybe behaviorally we change our diet, right? Maybe we're eating more. Maybe we're eating a lot of bone now. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'd need an adaptation of our own bones, right? Have you heard of medullary bone in birds?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So birds have a special bone tissue, and we've seen this in dinosaur fossils too, by the way, called medullary bone, that is a calcium reservoir. Yeah. And like they eat and they store calcium there, and then when they're getting ready to lay eggs, they draw from that well. About like 40% of the calcium in the egg comes from this medullary bone, and they use it to make the shells. And we found like T-Rex fossils that we could identify were female because we found the same medullary bone in them. And we were like,
so
this
cool.
was
Fascinating.
So maybe we would have something like that.
Side note, ladies, too, are we talking about less stretch marks, too? I want to point that out. I mean some eggs?
I think that's actually a really good transition to, like, how society would change as well. Because stretch marks itself aren't bad, but we do tend to have, like, kind of connotations around stuff like that, body changes, and just how we look at what pregnancy is in our current society versus how it might be in a society where we lay eggs. And I think, top line, egg society kind of better.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the same.
Like, you have, like, really think about it. Okay.
Drop your egg.
You drop your egg, you have time. So there's this, Victorians started digging up these old graves and things and learning about our history. And they'd be like, look at this powerful man here in this grave. There's a powerful warrior man. And it turned out that it's actually been female warriors this whole time. It turns out in ancient societies, they just said, oh, you're really good at that, you should do that. As opposed to, oh, you have these sex parts, you shouldn't do that. Even though you're really good at it, we're going to put you over there, which makes no sense.
Right. None of those gender roles back then. Right.
Yeah, they didn't have them the way that we do now because it was about survival and who could do the job best. And so, like, if you could just pop an egg out and then go back out and you're the best hunter, that's amazing for you and for us as a species. Like, you can just pop out an egg, give it to Ron, who's not a great hunter, give it to Ron. He's just Ron the egg cuddler. That's his job. Oh. He's really good at it. Just hand it to Ron.
That's a really good point, Trace. My brain started going like, does that mean our society changed globally? Is there less toxic masculinity? Do we have no Alexander the Great, no Genghis Khan? We have, the wonderful gender of female ruling our planet,
I don't know. I mean, I think at least we have a more egalitarian society because it's not just one of the two main sexes like taking care of or gestating the entire time.
Right. Yeah.
So instead, you've essentially packaged like the whole of birthing into anyone who can maintain it. And so since it's got all its nutrients, you're really just keeping it warm, which kind of as modern technology comes in, we're looking at like, anciently we're looking at like caves and shelters and things, and eventually it's houses and probably like nesting rooms. But in modern day technology, like, incubators, and there would probably be a lot more of an egg economy. It would be like part of our society. So here's some of the crazy things.
People would paint them for sure.
Yes, I actually have a whole thing about that. Yes.
It worried me a little bit because, animals have to breathe through eggs.
Yeah, the gas exchange. That's what I'm thinking.
Like, I don't know if we want to be painting those eggs. Maybe we'll bedazzle. At least a bedazzle. Tell me, Trace. Are we bedazzling?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, look. There would be a long history in humankind of egg thievery and egg swapping. There would be people who like, I've stolen the rich people's egg for ransom. That would be like a whole thing throughout history. And there would be, I have, much like our bird friends, I have put my egg there so that they get the benefit of the offspring and I don't actually have to do the rest.
Cuckoo bird style.
Yes, like cuckoo birds, exactly.
I've stuck my offspring into the royal's nest.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the thing is, I don't think the human body could produce lots of eggs. I don't think we would make clutches. No. Although if we go with the Julian method, there's no reason why they couldn't. If you're birthing like big eggs, but they're small like fetuses, you could potentially grow a few of them. Right. Also, if the eggs are stretchy, but I couldn't really find anything outside of like an aqueous environment that had a non-hard stretchy egg. Most of the ones in air, they all harden, so that doesn't really work. But if you could like steal the rich kid, I guess, and then put your kid there, and then who cares what happens to the rich kid? Your offspring now gets the benefit of being raised by somebody wealthy, which is, I'm sure, would be part of our society's stories because of history. There would also require some parental resources, but I wondered if there would be evolutionary pressure enough from something like that to make the eggs have patterns on them so that you as a being could recognize your eggs. Now we see in birds, they all have like eggs with patterns and spots, but birds are really bad at telling the difference between their egg and another egg, some species.
Right. Camouflage. I don't know. I think again. Go back to I think originally we'll probably be putting them in burrows of whatnot, so they probably wouldn't be as camouflage. More reptilian in that nature. But no, it makes me wonder. We're talking about the nuances of what human civilization would be, and I instantly thought of the cassowaries, only because the female's the bigger bird. She rolls in. She's got a huge territory, bunch of males in it. During breeding season, she finds her male. They get together. They do their thing. She drops about 4 to 5 eggs on the ground, and she's out. Peace out. He sits on the eggs. He takes care of the babies.
He's Ron the sensitive.
Exactly.
Maybe there would be a lot more of that in human society, which would be cool. Yeah. But we also talked about patterns and egg decorating. Yeah, for sure. There's going to be a huge history of egg decorating, and we're going to know that because human eggs would fossilize. So we would know how throughout history we would have a lot better picture of human evolution had we continued to lay eggs, only because we would know when we were at least still humanish, like because we would have human egg bits left over, which I thought was kind of cool. That's
wicked.
People would definitely also like hang on to the shell that their children were born in.
Definitely.
Like we hang on to, like, my mom is a dental hygienist. Hi, Roxanne. She hung on to my baby teeth for years. I found him one day and I was like, this is gross. And then it crumbled in my hand and I was like, why do we have this? We would absolutely do that with the shell.
We would be like, I've saved saved all the pieces and glued them together with what's that Japanese style where we put gold in between all the broken bits? Yeah, the kintsugi. So I have a kintsugi of your egg.
Yes. And then that would be the urn when you die and get cremated. They'd put you back in the egg.
That's amazing.
That's kind of symbolic.
I am into that.
Why are we egg laying?
Right?
This sucks.
Okay,
know,
wait. There's some other stuff. I haven't even scratched the surface, you guys. Okay.
Haven't even cracked the shell.
Haven't even cracked the shell, Marco.
Yeah.
So there would be documentaries about how different cultures cared for their eggs, because at some point we were all caring for them separately, and now as a global society, we would all be talking about the best practices about how to care for eggs, and there would be differing ideas of how to do it. And I bet you there'd be societies that like put injections into the eggs when it's still soft and right out of the, and then there would be other ones that would be like, no way.
All natural, free roaming human.
Right, exactly. There would be, and I'm sorry to say, there would definitely be egg racists and people who are like, no, I can't. You can't have your eggs in that place with my eggs because, we're still humans at the end of the day. But imagine you're watching a movie, because eggs are going to be in every media. Like, imagine every film that has pregnancy in it as some part of the story. Instead, it's an egg. So there'd be egg napping. There'd be, like, all sorts of, like, oh, no, I've accidentally broken this egg. Oh, no, that somebody has stolen my egg. There would be...
That would be a traumatic event. Like an
Three men and a baby? Is it?
Yeah.
Three men and an egg. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It's a slapstick where, like, they're, like, juggling the egg.
Oh, no!
They're, like, on a roller coaster. Like, oh, God.
Yeah. They got, like, one Band-Aid on the egg somewhere. But there'd probably also be a lot of egg security theater and egg security technology in terms of like egg safes, egg trackers, egg GPS, egg nannies, people who hire people to look after their eggs. Eggs would definitely be political. So there would be like progressive families might have more of a like egalitarian egg watching situation where there might be like fake traditionalists, similar to how we have it now, where it's like, oh, no, only one of the two sexes. Clearly, it would be the people who are descendants of Ron the Sensitive.
My brain is very not stuck, but, I'm very focused in the zoo world and the evolutions of wildlife. But I love this. This is interesting dynamics for our human world, right?
Yeah. So I think it would obviously, and it would be part of every single thing that we did. Like the shape, whatever shape our egg took, whether it's more spherical, kind of like a monotreme egg, or more like chickeny shaped, would be really that shape, I'm sure, would be in everything in our society. They would be, it would be everywhere, right? Because it would be like when you're talking about, before you mentioned angels, like we're talking about wings and things being an important part of our kind of cultural, socio-cultural kind of evolution. Egg shapes would probably be everywhere. They would just be all sorts of things. It would mean life. It would mean like fertility, like every kind of thing that would be egg related, which is really, I think would be everywhere. But also most eggs in...
like the trope story, instead of a baby in a basket on a doorstep, it's going to be like
an egg. Just an egg. Just an egg.
You open your door and
a blanket. Yeah.
I mean, would Easter still be a thing?
Maybe that's something I thought about too. Like, would we eat other eggs? I don't...
From the historical perspective, right? Like the eggs represent fertility.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like it'd still probably be that symbolism, but would we feel more comfortable eating eggs or not? I don't know. I mean, we drink other milk. You talked about that.
We do.
Yeah,
we do. We also eat the young of other animals.
We don't feel bad about that.
We don't really seem to feel bad about that. You're right.
Yeah, we're probably still doing it, you guys.
Yeah, we probably are. Most eggs would only exist if fertilized in humans, though, right? Because, like, we think of the chicken egg, but that's because we bred chickens that, like, create unfertilized eggs on the reg. So there might not be... I was trying to think of... Egg on the reg.
I mean...
Make an egg on the reg.
I'll let you roll with that.
Yeah.
So right now, when fertility kind of arises in human children between age 8 and 17, that would be a similar time, I guess, that you could start making eggs, but monotremes don't lay an egg unless it's fertilized. So as long as it's not fertilized, it just gets kind of reabsorbed into the body. So in that case, you wouldn't really see eggs unless there was a pregnancy, I would hope. I hope we're not just like popping eggs out all the time. It would be a real big waste of resources.
To your point, too, like it's a lot of nutrients being utilized to produce an egg. So it probably would be more monotreme. Let's just look at real nature in front of us at the moment, right? So I think it would be that.
Yeah. And so, but biology is messy. So sometimes there would be unfertilized eggs that just kind of like exist.
And it happens to birds all the time.
So what would happen to those for a human? Ooh. Like if a human made an egg and it was an unfertilized egg, it'd be so interesting societally, I wonder what we would do. Would it be shameful? Would we hide it? Would it be like, I don't know.
Would it be repurposed? Not to get weird about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I only bring this up as a kid. My mom had this shampoo. It had a horse on it, and it was placenta shampoo from a horse, But I mean, that's another episode altogether.
You sure you didn't misread it and it was like horse scented?
I hope
not. That sort of sounds the same.
I probably did. Now thinking about it, Mom, if you're listening, I apologize. Funny. That's how I remember the story anyway.
Yeah.
But I wonder, to your point, Trace, would we be utilizing the egg in some sort?
Yeah, I thought about that too. It's like there'd probably be egg donation centers where, like, you had an egg, because society's not always happy. So, like, you have an egg, you don't want the fetus that's in the egg, you could probably give it to like some kind of egg orphanage where they would like keep it. Or if an egg was damaged, there'd probably have to be lots of technology and societal resources toward protecting and saving those eggs. So maybe I thought if there is an egg that is an unfertilized egg, that's amniotic fluid that could be used in an egg that maybe was cracked and needed new amniotic fluid. So maybe like blood donation, there would be like fluid donation from eggs, which would be kind of interesting. Although I don't know enough about eggs to know if that would be compatible, like because of blood type differences. I don't know.
But who knows? Who knows what the science would have developed that way?
Yeah. I don't think that we would have trophic eggs, like in viable eggs that, like ants lay eggs that are nutrient based. They're specifically so other parts of the colony can get food. They lay the egg for other ants to eat. Higher order animals don't really do this, so I was like, we probably wouldn't have anything like that. Though there probably would be stories about egg cannibals. I mean, the media alone, the like interdimensional cable from this society, I would watch. It would be so good. Really interesting stuff. This would be hot dog as hands, like level of entertainment would be so interesting. Bottom line, I think it would be a really interesting society to look at. Pregnancy has a ton of sociocultural rituals around it in our current society, like baby showers, pregnancy showers, all of these things. That would likely still exist in a social society with eggs. But it would be much more, I think, egalitarian in that the egg, we've externalized the pregnancy into this thing. So we would be showering that thing, not necessarily the person who laid the egg, although I'm sure there would be some of both, which I do think would really change how we think of our society.
I think so.
It would be so cool. And we pour these hopes and dreams onto this one egg, which would be so cool. Everybody cuddles with the egg. Maybe you like have a more collectivist society where like your family members like keep the egg warm and like everybody takes a shift. And everybody talks to the egg, and we're playing music, and we're reading books to the egg, and like, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool.
I like it. Nice. I like this world, you guys. I like this world.
Yeah. But we had to go and branch off 160 million years ago.
Man.
We messed up, guys.
Stupid evolution.
This is a really weird episode.
It was
a really weird episode.
There were a couple moments I was a little worried where this was going, admittedly. But I like the concept of it.
I think Dr. Simon Clark, when he came on, described it as like pretty unhinged and chaotic, but really fun.
No,
that's what we strive for.
It gets your brain neurons firing. No, I really like it a lot.
Wonderful.
I don't think I'm ever going to look at an egg the same way again now.
Me either.
Yeah, I'm going to look at them enviously. Like, you have it so easy, you don't even know.
You don't even know.
You don't even know. Hens acting like you're better than us.
What?
They're very sassy, from what I've seen.
Oh, they are sassy. No.
Yeah, sassy. Sassy ladies. Well, I think that is going to do it for this episode. Marco, it was wonderful having you on. Where can people find you?
Friends, come visit me. We're here in San Diego, California. We're the San Diego Zoo and the Safari Park. Both are amazing conservation parks. And you learned a lot today. The world without birds, if humans laid eggs. But you can see all these wonderful nuances of evolution and of life in our conservation parks. So come visit me.
Wonderful.
That's awesome. And what about your podcast?
Tell me about that.
Yes, thank you. Amazing Wildlife. We talk about all sorts of animals. I mean, from condor to elephant to meerkat to flamingo. It's a plethora, a diversity of wildlife, amigo.
I love that.
Thanks, friend.
Yeah, when you brought up the thick-billed parrots, I was like, I was listening to that episode recently. It's really good.
You.
Oh, that's great.
You described them as like parrots as like a toddler with a pair of scissors in one hand and an air horn in the other, and I'm like, that's the perfect description.
Oh, wow.
It's perfect. And they can live to 60, 70 years in some cases. There's a cockatoo I knew was over 80 years old, so they can be quite long-lived too. Oh, I also want to do a shout out my social media handles. Of course, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, Zoology Marco, and you can learn all about what it takes to run a zoo. So thanks again, guys. This was awesome.
That's so
good, because I got plans of my own one day.
Ooh, all right, let me know.
Unsanctioned zoo. No, please. AZA accredited zoos are great. I'm not going to run one that's not AZA accredited.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to today's episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate. The show was created, written, and produced by Trace Dominguez.
And Julian Huguet. And of course, Marco Wendt.
Yep. And it was edited and produced by man who did hatch from an egg, which is why he's so perfect, Kyle Sisk.
The show was associate produced by Sabrina Capello. Our music is thanks to Epidemic Sound, and our intern is Charlie Woodbury.
Thank you to listeners who submitted questions for today's episode. Marco, Megan, and Marco again because of an internal mix-up. If you would like to submit a question, you can either be a guest on our show, apparently, and we'll really give it a lot of attention, or you can submit a question in the form in our show notes, or email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com. You can do it on our website, that'sabsurdshow.com/ask. You can call us at 302-TAPESHO. We couldn't do the show without your questions. We love them. Marco got to see our question database, and he concurs. There's a lot of good, goofy, silly, weird ones that just make our day, even if we don't get to tackle them. They're all so much fun, and we love seeing them, and they make the show possible, so keep sending them in.
Thank you to our absurd administrators, Adam, Les, Austin, Jonathan, Dan, Sabrina the Brain, Pinky, Hannah, and Apothecarian. If you want to play bingo, if you want to vote on our questions, join our Patreon. You too can be part of the fun, and you can help us decide what questions we're going to answer on future episodes, and just, chit-chat with us. Sometimes you get extras, like when Julian does something silly, he'll video it and post it to the Patreon before it goes out to everybody else, like when he did that cool science experiment with blueberries.
Yep.
So thank you to all of our patrons. We don't have any ads at the moment that we're recording this, so the Patreon is the only way that we have any support for the show to keep it going. So thank you to everyone who has joined. Actually, there is another way you can support the show, and that is by joining Nebula. By listening to the show, you actually support the show. We get a little cut of that. And by joining Nebula, we get a little cut of that too. Nebula is a streaming service that's creator-owned and creator-run. So if you want to support creators, not just us, but a whole bunch of other ones, join, check it out, watch the originals, watch the same things you might watch on YouTube, but without any ads. Join by going to go.nebula.tv/that'sabsurdshow. You can find it in the show notes.
Well, Marco, we have a phrase that we say at the end of every single episode, which of course, Trace, is...
Free the bees!
Free the bees!
Obviously.
Don't kill all the sparrows, you knuckleheads.
That's right. Birds.
Yes.
If we were egg layers, our society would be egalitarian.
Oh, you didn't go with excellent, and that
it would also be excellent.
I have so much respect. No, excellent is too easy.
That was
too easy. Egalitarian's way better. Marco, thank goodness you came on, because finally that phrase makes sense.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.